For Marquette, they will try to neutralize Stanford's size with their explosive guards, Jarrell McNeil, Dominic James, and Wesley Matthews. Ball pressure is important in this one, getting steals. This Marquette team averages almost 10 steals per game. That's top 6 in the nation. If they can get out and make Stanford's guards turn their backs, take away vision, they've got a chance to shut down the interior scoring of Stanford.
Marquette will wear the blue, and there's their lineup. James, McNeil, and Matthews, 3 juniors in the backcourt, all with over 1,000 career points. Hayward and Barrow inside. It's Johnson, Goods, the Lopez twins, and Fred Washington, the starters for Stanford. Men with a whistle, Curtis Shaw, David Paul, and Patrick Evans. 17,000 in Anaheim, and this will be a late arriving crowd. UCLA playing Texas A&M in the second game, and it'll be a predominant UCLA audience. It'll be interesting to see how those fans cheer in this game. Will they cheer for their Pac-10 home Stanford, or will they go against what would be their enemy at times during the regular season? Here we go, and the Lopez twins open it up. One tips to the other. The winner will go to Houston in the South region. Miami, Texas winner will play the winner of this one in the Sweet 16. Inside, this is Robin Lopez. He's the twin with the hair. And he quickly banks one home.
Boy, and a quick move by Robin Lopez in the post. He has really improved his offensive game. He is known more as the defensive Lopez, the leading shot blocker in the Pac-10. And Stanford going with the 2-3 zone.
Dominic James, Hayward. This is McNeil, throws it away. Mitch Johnson the other way for Stanford.
The Stanford team not known for turnovers. What they do is they are very big inside. They block a lot of shots, but they stay in front of you. They make you shoot over the top, and they limit you to one shot.
Johnson with the pass in. He led the Pac-10 in assists, and a foul inside against Marquette.
When the ball goes inside to Robin Lopez, he is getting much better at putting the ball on the floor, getting into the middle, and that's a nice quick move to the baseline side, and really like the way he uses the glass there.
Foul was on Lazar Hayward, and twisting inside is Robin Lopez. He has the first 4 points of the game.
Over the last 10 games, Robin Lopez averaging just under 13 points per game, shooting 53% from the field. His offensive game is really coming along.
He's been more the defensive player of the two twins, with his brother Brook Lopez getting the points, and there's a turnover. And with a 4-0 lead, Stanford goes the other way.
And Marquette has played teams with great size during the season, especially in the Big East, but no one quite like this that has 2 7-footers that anchor themselves in the low post, and the rest of the team plays off of them.
Mitch Johnson from outside, and Stanford opens with a 7-0 lead, and Tom Crean has to call an early timeout.
Everyone collapses inside. When the ball goes inside, watch out, there's a ton of space here, and just late in getting out to Mitch Johnson, not known as a great shooter, but he is feeling it right now. Mitch Johnson, a terrific young player.
Averaging 6.5 points a game, gets a quick 3 for the Cardinal, and a 7-0 advantage. As Marquette off to a slow start, Stanford red hot as we go to Greg Gumbel in New York.
Stanford leads Marquette by 7. Once again, Dick Enberg and Jay Billis.
Out of the timeout, Marquette with the ball. Dominic James from 3. And here come the Cardinal with a 7-0 advantage. Mitch Johnson, he's the quarterback.
Stanford starting out, they went 1-2-2 zone with the Lopez twins down low. It's awfully difficult to have to drive the ball into those big trees and shoot over them.
Johnson nearly a backcourt violation on the pressure defense from Marquette. It's James on Johnson. Lopez. And the rebound to Marquette on the foul. That's going to go against one of the Lopez's. Brook.
And when the ball goes inside to Brook Lopez, and when it went inside to Robin Lopez on the first 2 possessions, Marquette has not double teamed. They're trying to make them shoot over and make certain that they only get one look at it. Now back to a 2-3 zone. Not a steady diet of any one defense thus far from Marquette.
3 guards of Marquette around the perimeter. Matthews, McNeil, and James.
That is a lot of size closing out into those corners for Stanford.
McNeil, long range. He's been their best player the last 5 games. Barrow can't hit the follow. Gets another chance, and Marquette is on the board.
And Marquette's going to have to go after the offensive glass. If Stanford's going to play zone, they're not going to have established blockout responsibilities. And this is a pretty solid offensive rebounding team, especially over the last 5 or 6 games. Marquette has really been going to the offensive glass.
Almost a steal, and oh my! Robin Lopez with 6 points early for Stanford.
Robin Lopez has been aggressive offensively.
Foul at the other end goes against Anthony Goods.
The thing that's been nice about Robin Lopez and his development, he's making quick moves. And here's Ousmane Barrow getting inside position, which is key when you're offensive rebounding. He jumped right in front of Brook Lopez, who didn't lay a body on him. And he has to be able to finish plays. He got a second offensive rebound on that, but he's got to finish the first time. You're not going to get many second opportunities against Stanford.
Last Stanford foul was on Fred Washington. Barrow takes it inside. Robin Lopez fights for the rebound.
There's an example of Stanford changing a shot. The Lopez twins will not get credit for a block shot, but that was a changed shot.
Between the two of them, they averaged 15 rebounds a game. Taj Finger in the game for the first time, and a 3-second violation, Stanford.
Robin Lopez going up to block the shot, but he changed it. You see Ousmane Barrow had to use his off arm to try to create some space, and that's something that doesn't show up in a box score, changed shots, but that gets into the head of opponents when they try to go inside. The 1-2-2 half-court zone. You can call it a 3-2, just an odd man front.
Neal to James. And Matthews, the third guard.
That's got to get some penetration into this zone.
Great Hayward. And it's blocked by Robin Lopez. The scramble comes out to Hayward. Inside the line, McNeil. It's 9-4, Stanford.
Excellent attack of the zone. Even when you do it perfectly, you can get a shot sent back to you by Robin Lopez, leading the Pac-10 in blocks. They got the ball to the short corner and then hit a big man diving.
Mitch Johnson can't hit the rainbow. McNeil with a 42-inch vertical. Then he throws to a man that needed a 50-inch vertical. Out of bounds to Stanford. Let's go to Greg Humble in New York.
All right, Dick, back in Washington, the Purdue Boilers.
Back in Anaheim, 9-4, Stanford leads, and a Marquette foul. Wesley Matthews has his first. 2 team fouls on both Stanford and Marquette.
Stanford has been going inside. First it was to Robin Lopez, who's 3 for 3, 6 points. Now Brook Lopez in the game, and Stanford's going to want to get the ball to him as well.
Good drive by Goods, but he doesn't deliver the goods.
Here's where Marquette has to take advantage of its speed in transition.
And there is the speed of Jarrell McNeil. It's 9-6 Stanford. He has 4, McNeil.
Whether it's off a miss or a make, Marquette needs to get the ball inbounds quickly and run it up the floor. Try to beat the size of Stanford up the court.
Kenny Brown in the game for the first time for Stanford. He was the leading scorer against Cornell, 18 points. And a whistle along the baseline.
Here you can see the speed and explosiveness of Jarrell McNeil over his last 5 games, averaging 22 points per game. And the Stanford team, they're going to need to do a better job of finishing. Brook Lopez is not going to get an easier opportunity where he's got his defender playing on the high side, and he didn't finish that play.
Back out to Mitch Johnson. David Kubion and Dwight Burke are in for the first time for Marquette. This is Brook Lopez. Not there, and McNeil has it batted away by Lawrence Hill. Out of bounds to the Golden Eagles. And here comes Lazar Hayward to inbound the ball.
Solid job by Dwight Burke to push Brook Lopez further out on the floor. He made him catch it almost near that NCAA logo and then made him shoot over the top. Brook Lopez, a 47% shooter. So if you make him shoot over you, you've got a better opportunity. Then you have to box him out and keep him off the glass.
McNeil along the baseline, and a push against Stanford. You saw that graphic on the turnovers. 3 turnovers for the Golden Eagles here early. First 5 minutes of this game. Committed only 3 the entire half in their victory the other night.
They're trying to settle in against the size that they're seeing. Once they get past an initial defender, you're driving. There's another turnover. You're driving into essentially 14 feet of roadblock in Brooke and Robin Lopez.
And that's not counting the elevation of the shoes. You're giving them just the 14.
Or Robin's hair.
9-6. Stanford with the lead and the ball. 13:45 to go here in the opening half in Anaheim.
Here's the ball pressure that Marquette needs to bring. You can see Stanford having to turn their backs.
There's a slip on Wesley Matthews, slipping in on the backside, almost a steal. As Fred Washington returns and Mitch Johnson gets a breather.
You go down to double the post. You can't just go down to put your hands up and be a presence. You've got to go down there and try to steal the ball without fouling. They're not going to double. They're going to steal.
The tie up and the whistle. Lawrence Hill, and he was on the baseline, and the call goes to Marquette.
Now Stanford going to give yet another look on the defensive end. They had Lawrence Hill up top in a little 1-2-2. Now they're in a 2-3 zone.
Kubian inside. McNeil outside. And Hayward with a rebound and pushed in the process. Coach on the bench for Marquette, Tom Crean, in his 9th year, former assistant at Michigan State under Tom Izzo. And in fact, Mateen Cleaves, one of the stars of that 2000 championship team for the Spartans, recruited by Crean, visited this Marquette club after their victory over Kentucky on Thursday. And it was a big whistle. Jay Billis. Lazar Hayward now has 2.
One of the better rebounders on this Marquette team, and a really tough player to match up with because he can draw a defender out on the floor. A 2-3 zone now for Marquette, trying to be very active in it.
Hill outside was the leading scorer last year, not seeing as much duty this. Kubian kept it alive for Marquette. And James pulls up and drills the 15-footer. It's 9-8.
That's the way Marquette needs to play. They have got to push the ball up the court and try to get something early. Put pressure on Robin and Brooke Lopez to run.
Inside, it's good. +1 as Brooke Lopez has his first basket.
There you can see the difference in post position. Here he caught the ball right there, right with a foot in the lane instead of out by the NCAA logo. When you catch it that deep, not only will Brooke Lopez score, he will get fouled. You have to do your work early defensively, and the only way once they get down that low that you can really stop Brooke and Robin Lopez is you've got to get great pressure on the pass. See if you can get the passer to turn his back so that he can't see it.
Foul was on Dwight Burke at 6'8", giving away 4 inches to Lopez, who looks for his 3rd point of the game. Average on the season 18.5. Robin keeps it alive, and Brooke scampers to collect.
One of the things that you really like about the Lopez twins, they're not only really good players, they've got a mean streak, and they use it.
Inside again, he had position but couldn't connect.
Well, those are plays that Brooke Lopez has got to start finishing. He's not a great finisher. He's an outstanding player, but not yet a great finisher.
Dan Fitzgerald in the game for the first time, and he introduces himself quickly. That's his expertise, the 3, and the game is tied for the first time at 11.
That is his 31st 3, his 40th field goal on the season, so you got to make him put it on the floor, become a 2-point shooter instead of a 3-point shooter.
And the whistle underneath goes against Marquette as we take a look at Dan Fitzgerald, the senior.
All off the penetration by Dominique James. He was spotting up, got his feet set. The transfer from Tulane can really shoot it.
So that 7-0 early lead for Stanford has eroded as we now have 11-all tie with 11:57 to go in this opening half. Quickly, we go to New York and Greg Gumbel.
All right, Dick, thank you. We'll get back to you shortly. Meanwhile, in Washington.
Under 12 minutes to go, first half here in Anaheim. Stanford and Marquette tied at 11. Hill into the lane, can't hit the jumper. Kubian lets it go out of bounds. It's to Marquette in his 4th year on the bench with Stanford. Trent Johnson, 51 years young, played his college ball at Boise State for Mike Montgomery, and he and Montgomery with a connection throughout his coaching career, and eventually replaced Montgomery 4 years ago on the farm in Stanford. Kubian, that's what he likes to do, fire from long range, unable to hit his first shot.
Well, 2 of his last 19 field goal attempts, but Kubian's not going to get a better look from the perimeter.
Lopez, the line drive. Brother Robin tips it in. 13-11, Stanford leads.
Dan Fitzgerald was there for the blockout, just got overpowered by the bigger and stronger Robin Lopez. And Brook Lopez really having a difficult time. Marquette's done a very good job on him. He is 1 for 7 from the field to start this game. Lawrence Hill really long out top of this 2-3.
Dominic James, a little too long, and Robin Lopez another board for Stanford.
Not a lot of second chance opportunities for Stanford.
Barrow tied up on the rebound by Lawrence Hill. The arrow points to Marquette.
Robin Lopez just overpowering Fitzgerald underneath. He just couldn't be moved. Fitzgerald about 6'8", 6'9", but slight of build, and Lopez over 7 feet tall, and he's got to weigh 260, 270 pounds.
Jay, we saw earlier in Duke's defeat to West Virginia, the Blue Devils cold from outside, and that's the case with Marquette. They've got to hit some threes. They're 1 for 7 outside the line. Barrow back to Fitzgerald, and a foul.
Brook Lopez picking up another foul. He just had his hands down instead of straight up.
That's his second.
A little bit of a nickel dimer here. Yeah, well, that was a good call. That was a good call. Looked like his right arm just was touching him, but he went down with that right arm. Solid call.
And foul trouble cost him activity against Cornell. He picked up 3 fouls early, scored only 4 points in the win in the opening round here.
And that was a cheap one by definition. If you're Brook Lopez, you just want to keep your hands up and make sure you leave the floor after the shooter does. Because if you change a shot, just as good as blocking it oftentimes.
He'll be arrested with the 2 fouls. We'll see whether or not Trent Johnson will keep him on the bench the remainder of the half. As Washington finger now, along with Anthony Goods, Robin Lopez, and Johnson for Stanford. Fitzgerald has 5, and it's tied at 13.
And when Dan Fitzgerald plays well, Marquette usually plays well. And you know, Dick, it was interesting. Brook Lopez against Cornell got in foul trouble against the Big Red. Did not play many minutes in that ball game. And you wonder if he's lost a little bit of rhythm. Only 15 minutes in that game, 4 points. One of only 2 times he's been under double figures this year.
So the pressure on Robin, and he gets an easy 2.
What a nice quick move before the double team could arrive. That was excellent post execution by Robin Lopez.
He's 5 for 5 to start the game to lead all scorers with 10.
He's been like twins himself. He doesn't need his brother Brook.
Maurice Acker with the ball in for the first time, the 5'8" sophomore from Hazel Crest, Illinois.
Nice fake.
That opens up Fitzgerald in the corner. Can't hit that 3. Mitch Johnson to Goods. And the foul.
Stanford attacking in transition, and earlier when the ball went in to Robin Lopez on the right block, watch this quick move that he makes. Does a good job of sealing off, and before Wesley Matthews can get there, he's already made his turn into the lane and went up strong with it. He has really improved his offensive game, and he's been very, very aggressive to start out this game against Marquette.
Golden Eagle foul was on Maurice Acker. Goods has his first point of the game. Junior from here in Southern California, Corona, California, went to Centennial High School. Goods averaging 10 points a game on the season. Fitzgerald contributes 5 points, gets a breather.
Anthony Goods is Stanford's best three-point shooter, and he's trying to free himself up in transition. That was a very nice job by Mitch Johnson to get the ball down court quickly.
Number 21, Lawrence Blackledge, sees his first duty for Marquette as he has replaced Fitzgerald.
Stanford going to man. They have done a nice job at changing defenses, giving Marquette a lot of different looks.
Acker misses. Rebound to Goods. Lopez 5 for 5. Robin Lopez, the rest of the Stanford team, shooting 2 for 13. Nice move inside by Hill, and he can't hit the short jumper. Scramble, and it's out of bounds to Marquette. Almost lost Usman Barrow. He was up under the media table.
Well, Taj Finger of Stanford, one of the more aggressive players that you're going to find. He impacts the game with his great energy, and he's also a very good offensive rebounder and really going after that ball hard.
Here comes Marquette, 1 for 9 on 3-point attempts.
Yet another change in defense, back to a 1-2-2. Good pass.
Oh, and a handcuff Blackledge. And then they turnover. Here comes Johnson, 3-on-2. Matthews the other way. Blackledge can't hit. McNeil for 3. Finger collects the long rebound.
Curtis Shaw warning the Stanford bench to remain seated. And Lawrence Blackledge going up strong and just got hit hard by Robin Lopez. Now, how that's not a foul, hard to tell, but a good job by Mitch Johnson to try to draw the charge. He made Blackledge adjust. That little motion was just enough to make him miss that shot.
Officials have concentrated on keeping the players seated on the benches. That's tough to do. You're a young guy rooting for your team, and if they stand too much, they are warned, and that was the case with the Stanford bench. Robin Lopez, rather, and he's unable to hit.
But he got pushed further off the lane that time. That was a longer shot. That's better post defense by Marquette.
That was his first miss after 5 in a row. Oh, hanging in the air. The athletic Dominique James. He has 4, and it's 16-15 Stanford.
He may be small, but he plays big. That young man has springs in his shoes.
42-inch vertical, and he said, but that was at the end of practice when I was tired. That's really springs. Finger has his first bucket, and it's 18-15 Stanford.
Smart cut right to the high post. No defense on him, pulled the trigger on it. Taj Finger is a very smart and energetic player.
Down to the 7-minute mark here in the first half. Acker. And finally rattling in a 3 to tie it at 18.
Acker has hit 13 of his last 22 shots, and he's really been a spark plug off the bench for Marquette the last 10 games.
He was the Mid-American Conference Freshman of the Year at Ball State. Transferred, sat out last year. That'll be offensive foul against Stanford. And the first on Lawrence Hill. 18 here as we go to New York. 6:39 remaining first half here in Anaheim. This is the South region. Marquette and Stanford tied at 18.
Stanford back to man-to-man. Yet another defensive change by Trent Johnson.
And that'll be a travel as spinning into the lane was Jarrell McNeil and lost control.
Stanford has not given Marquette a steady diet of any one look defensively, and it has kept Marquette off balance. Marquette's keeping in this because they're doing a solid job defensively, and they are really gang rebounding. They're out rebounding Stanford by 5 on the game.
Remember Brooke Lopez, one of the big Lopez 7-foot skyscrapers, sitting with 2 fouls early as Mitch Johnson hits the 3. That's his second tray, and Stanford reclaims the lead.
Now back to a 2-3 zone after the made field goal. That shot by Johnson looks more like a shot put than a jump shot.
That's almost the old-fashioned 2-hand set.
Al Order.
Of course, Stanford's Hank Lucetti was the man who created the one-handed push shot. In those days, everyone was shooting 2 hands. James sets up McNeil outside, and he hits the 3 to tie it at 21.
That's all the penetration by Dominique James against the zone. He has started inside to catch it and pass it back out, but he can also penetrate it off the dribble.
Taj Finger gives Stanford a second chance. Fred Washington strong down the lane, and he's fouled.
McNeil just couldn't get there to face him up. He tried to take that charge with a side angle.
That's his second foul. We'll see whether Tom Crean is forced to bring McNeil to the bench. He's been their leading scorer down the stretch for the Golden Eagles. Acker comes out.
McNeil pleading with one of the officials that it wasn't on me. He called it on the wrong guy, and Tom Crean trying to explain that as well, but I think he did get the right guy.
Kubion in for Acker, and here comes Wesley Matthews, and he probably for McNeil. That's the case.
Wesley Matthews is in for Marquette.
Usman Barrow also returns to the Marquette lineup. He's in for Trevor Mbakwe, who was on the floor only a few seconds. That's the first point of the game for Fred Washington, and a 22-21 advantage to the Cardinal.
2-3 zone, little tandem out front. Marquette looks like they're running one of their man sets against it.
5 minutes left, first half. Hayward, a strong move. Can't get it to drop, and a pushing foul underneath.
Robin Lopez changed yet another shot. When Lazar Hayward drives normally in the Big East, he's not having to adjust quite like that, but the presence of Lopez, an outstanding shot blocker, made him change it.
Finger with a foul, his first. Matthews, and for the first time in the half, the Marquette Golden Eagles see the bigger number on their side, 23-22.
There's a great example of screening the zone. You don't just screen man, you can screen a zone, and Matthews came off fouling.
Matthews rebounds at the other end. He had 8 consecutive free throws to lock up the win against Kentucky on Thursday.
There have been no second shots for Stanford.
Nice Matthews to Barrow. Timeout, Stanford. Matthews with a basket, a rebound, and a pass.
Right off the ball screen, and then the nice drop off, the penetration killing him.
4 minutes left in this first half. Marquette enjoying its first lead. Good pass inside, and Hill drops it home. 25-24 Marquette.
Mitch Johnson is such a smart player. Going up against a 2-3 zone, the ball being reversed, just attacked the gap through the defense and kicked it down to Hill.
Tough ball away by James. Boy, the hard work to be able to come down to the rebound. Lazar Hayward, and then a call for a possible trip as he seemed to be out of control. We swing from Anaheim back to New York. Here in Anaheim, a startling event. You last saw Lazar Hayward stumbling through the lane, was fouled. Trent Johnson didn't like the call, was teed up, and then came out on the court, and another technical foul. So Wesley Matthews is in the process of shooting the 4th of the 4 technicals, makes all 4, and now the 1-and-1 to Lazar Hayward. And Trent Johnson has been escorted back to the Stanford locker room. A stunning event that just came out of nowhere.
Incredible. He was talking with referee Curtis Shaw. Was not demonstrative, clearly not pleased. I don't know what he said, but it must have been severe.
The front end of the 1-and-1 is missed, and it's out of bounds to Stanford. So Doug Oliver on the bench in his second year at Stanford, the former head coach at Idaho State. He was the head man there for 8 years, will now run the show for the Cardinal. 29-24 on the 4 technical foul free throws made by Wesley Matthews. Well, that's got this crowd in a big stir, that's for certain, especially the Stanford fans.
And this is where Stanford has to show poise, and leadership from Mitch Johnson is how they will do it.
Goods with a drive. Strong rebound by Barrow. They try to tie him up unsuccessfully. 3 minutes to go in the half. Marquette with its biggest lead at 5.
Marquette has claimed an advantage with Trent Johnson getting tossed. Now they have to take advantage of it. How this last 2:49 goes may wind up determining the game. If Stanford can keep their poise and stick close, they can weather it.
Sometimes that will inspire a team to play even better and harder. We'll see. Matthews with a runner. 31-24. 6 unanswered points from Wesley Matthews. He now leads Marquette with 8.
Marquette sticking in a 2-3 zone. They have switched defenses as well. Not quite as often as Stanford has.
Brown, outstanding three-point shooter on the wing, and that's Robin Lopez. And a foul. Does the basket count? Apparently no. It was before the shot. Well, let's go back to Hayward, who had stumbled across the lane. A foul was called. Johnson disputes that whistle and picks up a quick foul and then comes out on the court.
There he is right there. This is Curtis Shaw. And not demonstrative, but clearly upset. And Curtis Shaw tosses him. And you could see that Doug Oliver had his head in his hands when that second call was made. It is hard to watch a coach being thrown out, especially one as classy as Trent Johnson is and has been through the course of his career.
Yeah, that was painful. Guzman Barrow with a foul and finger at the line. Hits the front end of a 1-and-1. It's 31-25. Marquette fans, long standing, will remember a man named McGuire, Al McGuire, in the '74 NCAA championship game. Picked up a double technical foul and actually accepted the fact that he cost his team the championship.
A lot of the great ones have been thrown out in the Final Four. It actually happened to Dean Smith in 1991.
Matthews inside to Burke. Another beautiful feed from Wesley Matthews. He's having a brilliant first half, scoring, passing, rebounding. Wesley Matthews, his dad played at Wisconsin, was a star in the NBA as well. Kenny Brown won't rattle in.
And Marquette is doing a great job on the glass. They have limited Stanford to one challenge shot.
Burke had to wrestle the ball away from a couple of Cardinal. Matthews, another. Oh, hang up a star for Wesley Matthews.
And the penetration is wearing Stanford out. And Marquette has taken great advantage of an unusual situation with the 2 technical fouls. Great penetration. And Wesley Matthews ready to shoot as the ball arrives.
We're at nearby Disneyland. Wesley Matthews with a neat coupon ride here in the first half as the Golden Eagles have charged into an 11-point lead. Here in Anaheim on a 18-4 run, the Marquette Golden Eagles have taken a 36-25 lead over Stanford. A first half that is featured, if you will, the ejection of Stanford coach Trent Johnson, a double technical, and Johnson at the 3:36 mark was given the thumb. He's back in the locker room, and the Cardinals are being run by Doug Oliver, the top assistant coach.
It was a 1-point game when Johnson left.
And there's an answer that the Stanford team sorely needs as Kenny Brown drills a 3. It's 36-28.
Kenny Brown had 18 points against Cornell in the first round. A couple games earlier had 19 on the road against Southern California.
Against Cornell, he was 4 for 5 from 3-point range. Final minute. James not there. Robin Lopez. That's his 4th rebound of this half. His brother Brooke Lopez sitting out more than half of the first 20 minutes with 2 fouls.
Get back to man-to-man. And it's been a long time since Robin Lopez has touched the ball. Just getting it inside, trying to get something going toward the basket is something Stanford needs to do.
Mitch Johnson, hawked by James. That's Taj Finger. A beautiful feed from Johnson. A couple of quick scores for Stanford to pull within 36-30.
Stanford showing some mental toughness and a great cut by Taj Finger.
Down to 7 seconds. James with 3. James with 2. With 1. End of the half. End of the half in Anaheim. Marquette's Golden Eagles with a 18-4 run. In the midst of that run, the ejection of Stanford coach Trent Johnson as Marquette leads by 6 at the intermission. We'll send you to Greg Gumbel and company. AT&T in the half after these messages and a word from your local station.
Most of the people we built the M-Class for will never drive across the desert.
Most people will never need windshield wipers that perform it.
Second half about to begin, and Marquette leading 36-30. Second half about to begin, and Marquette leading 36-30. And this game is being brought to you in HD TV by HP. And welcome back to Anaheim. We've got this crowd now of 17,000 stirred. 11-point lead after the whole technical foul mess where it seemed like it was Marquette shoot till you miss. But it's all been resolved.
Yeah, after the foul was called with 3:36 remaining in the first half, David Hall assessed a technical on Trent Johnson for getting out of the coaching box during the timeout and coming after him and being a little bit too vocal. The second technical was called by Curtis Shaw. By rule, Trent Johnson was not supposed to step toward the officials, which he did, and the officials have been charged with keeping better control of the benches and bench decorum rules, and the officials were just complying with the rules as they are written.
The foul and the ejection occurred with Marquette leading 25-24. They went on to 11 unanswered points, but Stanford rallied, scoring the last 5 of the first half to cut the lead to 6. Inside goes Brooke Lopez, who sat out 12 of the first half minutes with 2 fouls. Here is the in-game box score powered by CBS College Sports Network, the 24-hour college sports channel from CBS Sports. With Wesley Matthews, he had a perfect half, 3 for 3 from the floor. He hit his only 3-point shot, made all 4 of his free throws on the 4 technical fouls. Lazar Hayward ticketed with his 3rd foul quickly here to open the second half for Marquette.
And immediately Stanford going inside with a little cross screen to try to free up Brooke Lopez, get him involved. Lopez only played 15 minutes in the game against Cornell with foul trouble, only scored 2 points, and then only 8 minutes in the first half with 2 fouls.
Looking for his 4th point. And that's 7 unanswered points for the Stanford Cardinal to pull within 4. Fitzgerald, McNeil, James with the ball, Barrow, and Wesley Matthews now with the ball to start the second half for Marquette.
A 1-2-2 zone by Stanford. A lot of different looks in the first half. 2-3 zone, 1-2-2, man-to-man. Now, Jarrell McNeil in the middle as a playmaker.
Fitzgerald from that spot in the left corner hits his second tray.
When Dan Fitzgerald and David Kubian hit perimeter shots, this Marquette team much more dangerous offensively. Really can stretch you that way.
Inside, and the power move by Brooke Lopez. Well, he came out hungry to start the second half after being on the pines for all but 8 minutes of the opening half.
Well, too easy to get the ball inside when Tom Crean went with that 2-3 zone. Not enough pressure on the ball. Mitch Johnson could just lob it in.
McNeil, nice stutter move, and he hits the 17-footer. He has 9.
Few players in the Big East have been hotter over the last 5 games than Jarrell McNeil.
McNeil, in fact, in those 5 games, averaging 21.6 a game.
Robin Lopez started off this game scoring 10 quick points, but in the second 10 minutes of the first half, nothing.
That'll be a travel inside as Lopez shuffled his feet. Both Lopez's, Brooke and Robin on the court, along with Fred Washington, Anthony Goods, and the point guard Mitch Johnson to start the second half.
Even though Marquette is a smaller team, they have been the better rebounding team in this ballgame.
Marquette started 1 for 10 from 3-point range, and they made 4 of their last 5. James, so quick. And winning the battle is Goods for Stanford. 7-point Marquette lead. A couple of minutes into the second half here in Anaheim. Winner moves on to the Houston region and will play the Texas-Miami winner in the Sweet 16. And up the fly swat is Barrow for Marquette. Fitzgerald for three. He can't hit that one.
And that offensive rebound was right there for Barrow to grab. Just a little slow to it, and Goods grabbed it.
Oh, nice speed and inside to score. Robin Lopez +1.
A terrific pass, and Dan Fitzgerald a little bit slow getting over there. Just got into the chest of Robin Lopez, and then Robin Lopez getting into the face of Dan Fitzgerald after the score.
Second foul. No, first on Fitzgerald. And the top assistant coach for Stanford, Doug Oliver, he came to the party today not expecting to be such a prominent invitee. Three-point conversion for Lopez, and it's a 4-point game.
And that's the first basket for Robin Lopez since the first 10 minutes of the game.
Fitzgerald fires from long range and connects. That's 3 trays for senior Dan Fitzgerald from St. Paul, Minnesota. He has 11.
He had Brook Lopez guarding him, decided to run him around. He was too slow to get out to him.
And answering for Stanford, Anthony Goods, his first tray of the game. 44-40, Marquette's lead. We played 3 minutes and 15 seconds, second half.
A great poise shown by this Stanford team without their head coach, Trent Johnson.
Look at the move by Dominic James. He is as quick as any player in the country.
If Stanford is going to stay man-to-man, they are going to have a tough time guarding Marquette because Tom Crean is lifting the big guys, moving them around, moving them off screens, and he will involve them in ball screen action.
And there's a foul inside on Dwight Burke of Marquette trying to hold off Robin Lopez. That's his second. NCAA March Madness Central, powered by the first ever Pontiac G8, is your home for live look-ins and more all day throughout the tournament. Check it out only on the CBS College Sports Network. Oh, what a move underneath with the flip by Brook Lopez. That's a play you'd expect to see from a 6-footer, not a 7-footer.
Well, he's come out with a look in his eye of aggression. Looking man-to-man, and that's a tough matchup.
Matthews, rebound, Burke, and a foul on Brook Lopez. That'll be his third.
Marquette has shown great strength on the glass. Here's the move by Robin Lopez. You can see just on the out-of-bounds play, and Burke is playing him straight up and down, and Fitzgerald was having fits trying to block out Robin Lopez. If that shot was missed, Robin had an opportunity to grab the offensive rebound.
They picked out the other Lopez, Robin, with that last foul, so the two twins each with 2 fouls. At the line, Burke looking for his 3rd point. Not a good free throw shooter. He reveals that immediately. In fact, 22 for 44 on the season, 50%. And he's 50% on that exchange. 47-42.
With 2-2-1 3/4 court pressure right now by Marquette. Dropping back into a 2-3 zone. You still have to get good ball pressure, otherwise they're going to pick you apart throwing it inside.
It's Johnson. He's the playmaker, gets it inside. Good position for Brook Lopez. And again, in that tight, you can't stop him.
That's all about where you catch it. If Marquette can force Brook Lopez off of the lane and catch it a step or 2 off the lane, they've got an opportunity to defend. If he catches it with a foot in the paint, it's going to be 2 points, perhaps 3 and a foul.
8 points in 4 minutes for Brook Lopez.
2-3 zone has not been as good for Marquette as their man-to-man defense has been.
McNeil has it rattle out. Fred Washington with a rebound. Stanford. There's the bracket. The Houston region. Marquette Stanford winner to meet Miami or Texas in the Sweet 16. Hooked by Robin Lopez. Goes firing in to get it and score. And a foul. What an effort. And with a free throw, Stanford can tie it up. What a comeback, inspired by the power, determination of Robin and Brook Lopez. Back in Anaheim, and Lopez will be on the line with a free throw chance to tie it. Here's a look at our tournament summary. And how about the Big East domination? 8-1, the only loser, Connecticut. And of course, Marquette from the Big East trying to win here against Stanford. West Virginia knocks out Duke in the second round. So the Mountaineers, also from the Big East, advance. Robin Lopez can't tie it up. McNeil with a rebound, 47-46. Marquette leads it with 14:52 remaining in the second half.
And Stanford has shown a good deal of maturity and poise since the ejection of Trent Johnson with 3:36 to go in the first half. Really fought back. The game could have gotten away from them when they were down 11, but they really fought back at the end of that first half.
Maurice Acker with the ball. Fitzgerald, looked as if his arm was hit, but no whistle on that one. They say it's impossible for an underdog to go the distance. Then again, they said it's impossible to get real Coke taste and 0 calories. Log on to mycokerewards.com. Get lots of great NCAA gear.
A full court man-to-man by Marquette.
Kubian on Johnson.
The man-to-man has proven to be the more effective defense for Marquette. At least they can get some ball pressure. There, Lopez off the lane and walking with it.
Looked as if he was fouled as well, and a whistle underneath. That's going to be on Fitzgerald for a push. He has 2. Burke and Barrow, the 2 big men for Marquette, now have 3 fouls. That could play an important role as we move along in this second half.
Well, you can see the difference in where Brook Lopez catches it. When he catches it further out on the floor, he walked with it, just wasn't called, and that led to the foul.
Goods with a miss. Marquette with a 1-point lead, drives to the other end. McNeil scores. Jarrell McNeil, the junior, has 11.
Marquette has got to look to run at every opportunity because they are quicker, more explosive in the full court, and they don't have to contend with Brook and Robin Lopez as much in transition.
And the Golden Eagles, among the leaders in the nation in steals, go for one there. Jarrell McNeil, but it costs him his 3rd foul. He had 75 steals on the season, McNeil, to lead the Big East. 3-point advantage, Marquette. Stanford ball. The last 16 Stanford points, 13 have been scored by the Twins. As Goods delivers. It's tied at 49. Here in Anaheim, Marquette and Stanford in a 49 tie with 13.5 minutes remaining. And Robin and Brook Lopez have taken over the game for Stanford. The Twin Towers, the 7-footers inside, as they have scored 13 points to open this second half. Here's Brook.
Solid job by Barrow trying to push Lopez off the lane. He needs to get behind him now. Playing him on the side is not the right call.
And there's the reach over foul by Barrow, his 4th. Or make that 3 now. 3 on Barrow. Lazar Hayward has 3, Barrow 3, and now Burke 3 as well for Marquette.
Stanford has to continue to try to punch the ball inside to Brook and Robin Lopez. They've got a great size advantage, and they need to take advantage of it. Robin Lopez had been guarded by Dan Fitzgerald, which was a positive matchup down low because he's impossible to block out for Fitzgerald.
So Stanford takes the lead. They led early 7-0, and eventually with that technical foul mess, lost their lead and trailed by 11, but they rally here early in the second half as you look at the foul situation with McNeil, Burke, Hayward, and Barrow all with 3. No one more than 2 fouls for Stanford, and Brook Lopez hits those 2, snapping the twine. 51-49 Stanford. From the Pac-10 against the Big East, number 6 seed Marquette Golden Eagles.
Against Hayward now, Brook Lopez has to come out on the perimeter. They want to try to involve the Lopez brothers in ball screen action, move them around, and then attack.
McNeil takes it into the alley. Can't hit it. Goods rebounds.
Couldn't take it all the way because of the Lopez presence. Had to pull up short and short-armed it.
Here in the second half, 7 fouls whistled against Marquette, 1 against Stanford. So the Cardinals are already in the 1-1 with only 7 minutes gone in the second half. Brown! Kenny Brown with the 3. And Stanford builds a 5-point lead. Timeout, Marquette.
The great ball reversal, and Kenny Brown, who had 18 in the first round, still hot.
Here in Anaheim, Marquette in blue has fallen behind by 5 as this Stanford Cardinal team is playing terrifically to open this second half. A 14-3 run for Stanford to give them a 54-49 lead with 11:45 left in the second half.
Stanford going to a 2-guard front, trying to spread it out against this Marquette man-to-man defense, and they want to try to punch it inside as often as possible, collapse the defense, then kick it out.
Johnson to Robin Lopez, and he can't hit. He's fouled.
And Robin Lopez is fired up, and he's had way too much to say.
And a technical foul's been whistled against Marquette, and now everything's going against the Golden Eagles.
Well, Robin Lopez started that. Now, whether Lawrence Blackledge answered it back when the official was looking, it was started by Lopez.
Lawrence Blackledge was the man whistled with a foul initially, and Tom Crean is going to get an explanation. We'll see exactly what the call was when we return to Anaheim. Back at Anaheim, 11.5 to go, and Stanford with a 5-point lead. But look at that bottom line. Second half fouls. From now on, Stanford has the double bonus. Here's the last sequence.
Nice little post dive, the foul by Lawrence Blackledge, and the players jawing back and forth. And Robin Lopez has been jawing at the Marquette players after every positive thing that he's been doing. Now, not as much on this one, but clearly he's been fired up, and the players said something back and forth to each other, and Curtis Shaw came back in late to call the technical on Blackledge. Then the officials got together, and one of the other officials had seen what Robin Lopez had said and done as well, and both coaches talking to their teams about keeping their poise. And the officials need to keep their poise as well, because they may have lost it too.
And that's the free throw on the 1-and-1. He makes one for a 6-point lead. So both Robin Lopez and Lawrence Blackledge ticketed with technicals there, and that adds to the Lopez foul count. He now has 3. And Wesley Matthews is fouled as he drives through the lane.
Brooke Lopez trying to hedge up on that curl off the elbow and just didn't have the angle to do it.
17,600 the sellout here in Anaheim. The winner on to the Sweet 16, and that foul on Brooke Lopez. So the two twins each with 3. Brooke appealing his case.
They better keep quiet given the tees that are being thrown around in this one.
I thought they were going to give you a technical when you stood up that one time.
I'd be afraid as a player to say anything to these officials. They've had a very quick whistle.
For the first time in the game, both the twins are being rested by the backup coach Doug Oliver.
Well, it's important for Marquette to drive the ball against this lineup. Step on the line.
Hit the line, and it's out of bounds to Stanford, and the Cardinal with a 6-point advantage. Right foot kissed the white line. 7th turnover.
Marquette pressing up and full court man-to-man. They need to really put some pressure on Stanford, try to force some turnovers, especially since the Lopez twins are out of the lineup right now.
Now, this is as small as Stanford will get. Hill and Finger in represent the big men, and there's the turnover from the Cardinal.
Tried to spread it out, and this is not an athletic lineup in for Stanford right now.
Lazar Hayward way off the mark, try to keep it alive, but Lawrence Hill snatches it for Stanford.
Not sure that was the shot, even though Lazar Hayward was open. With the Lopez twins out, attack the rim. See, just side-to-side continuous ball screening, trying to spread these Marquette defenders out a bit.
Inside is Hill. Can't hit the banker.
Good job by Stanford in transition defense to stop the ball.
Midpoint of the second 20-minute period in Anaheim, with Stanford leading Marquette 55-49.
It's a 2-possession game, but Stanford is in control.
Hayward battles his way to the boards and is rewarded with 2. That's his first bucket of the game.
What a tough move right into Lawrence Hill, who had pretty good position.
James and Johnson, they played against each other often in Nike camps.
Well, with as much basketball as players play today during the summer all over the country, so many of them know each other and have relationships.
Down to 10. Mitch Johnson with a runner. Taj Finger follows in. 57-51 Stanford. 7 for Finger off the bench.
An active offensive rebounder, second on the team in offensive rebounds. He goes after it hard, really impacts the game with how hard he plays.
Maurice Acker at 5'8" takes it inside, then back outside to Hayward. Misses another 3. Well off the mark. Rebound, Wesley Matthews. What a game he's had. +1.
It all started for Wesley Matthews when Trent Johnson received the 2 technical fouls and was ejected. He only had 2 points at that time, scored 9 more before halftime, and just an alert play. He uses the left hand very effectively off the glass.
Goods trying to stop him, picks up his first foul. So the 3-point effort here for Wesley Matthews, and he has been perfect. That's 5 for 5 from the line. Hasn't missed from the floor. 13 in the game to lead Marquette. On to Houston and the Sweet 16 for the winner against either Miami or the University of Texas. Goods from outside. And it's out of bounds off the baseline to Marquette. NCAA March Madness on Demand is streaming every game from the NCAA Championship online for free. You can watch any game anytime at the new NCAA.com.
Doug Oliver getting some valuable rest right now for Brooke and Robin Lopez. Have yet to give up the lead. He's going to have to go back to him pretty soon.
Fans wanted a walk on Matthews.
Marquette needs to attack off the dribble.
Clock ticking down to the 8-minute mark. James fires well off the mark. Saved underneath for a moment by Barrow. Stolen by Matthews. Matthews scores again.
And every loose ball has belonged to Marquette.
57. Make that Jarrell McNeil got that basket. 57, 56, 13 for McNeil. This has been an outstanding game with a little too many twists for some. That's Goods. Here comes Dominic James, and Marquette with a chance to retake the lead.
Oliver needs to get the Lopez twins back in there. It's too many easy rebounds right now for Marquette. They're dominating the offensive glass.
McNeil inside gives Marquette the lead, 58-57.
There is no interior presence for Stanford. They've spread it out on the offensive end, but they've gotten very little offensively.
Kicking down to the 7-minute mark. And a whistle away from the play. Is that for a timeout? I believe Doug Oliver is thinking exactly as you did, Jay Billis. He wants to get those big towers back in the game, trailing by 1. And the Pac-10, 3-3 in the tournament thus far, but Washington State in the lead. Stanford currently 1 down to Marquette, but at the free throw line, and we'll see UCLA against Texas A&M here in Anaheim next.
Lawrence Hill has one of the most interesting free throw strokes you've seen. He gets down into a catcher's crouch and then comes up to shoot him. I've not seen anyone else do this. Looks like Mike Piazza down there.
It looks like a fastball he called there. And he gives Stanford the lead, 59-58. And here comes Robin Lopez returning. He leads all scorers in the game with 16. His brother Brooke with 12. McNeil 15. Matthews 14. Fitzgerald 11 for Marquette.
This Stanford team has really kept their poise. I give most of the credit to Mitch Johnson for the poise.
Barrow between the 2 towers, able to score his 6th point.
That pass was an absolute bullet. Oh, what a play by Matthews.
The steal, and then the battle, and timeout Marquette. And listen to the fans cheer the hustle of the Warriors, former Warriors, Golden Eagles defense. I knew I'd get the Warriors in there. That was a Warriors play. A one-point battle as we move deep into the second half. 6:37 left. And Marquette with a 60-59 lead. And the hustle play giving the Warriors, the Golden Eagles, the ball.
A lot of people in Milwaukee happy to hear you make that very small mistake.
But that takes me back to Al McGuire's days at the '77 national championship.
Great alertness by Wesley Matthews to make that steal, and not very good alertness by Robin Lopez to give it up and then not to step in and try to stop that drive.
8 points for Dominic James. Marquette by 3. We approach the 6-minute mark. Here comes James.
What an amazing steal by Dominic James.
Hayward keeps trying and finally is rewarded with a 3. And Marquette jumps out by a half dozen.
They ought to wear mood rings in this game because the mood swings have been tremendous.
And back in Anaheim with our game reset. Marquette now by 6 with 6 remaining. Jim Harbaugh, the head football coach at Stanford, and he has mixed emotions here this weekend with his sister Joni, married to Tom Crean, the Marquette coach. Crean is Jim's brother-in-law. He wore both jerseys Thursday because they weren't playing against one another, but he's neutral in a Kansas City Royal shirt today as Brook Lopez inside with an easy 2.
Well, if he wants not to be recognized, he shouldn't wear that chin, that iron jaw he's got. Usman Barrow is making some mistakes defensively.
Oh, bad pass, and Mitch Johnson with a steal.
You can't give Brook Lopez an angle. You need to push him off the lane, but if you give him an angle to the basket, they can just throw it right to him, and Lazar Hayward picks up another one.
That'll be his 4th. Jim with one of the great victories of the football season when his Stanford team pulled off that miracle win against Southern California in the Coliseum. He coached down at the University of San Diego. He's got some feelings there too. They took them to a national championship, small college championship, and of course San Diego's Toreros with a big upset win yesterday at the University of Connecticut.
A lot of connections in that game. Darren Horn, the coach at Western Kentucky, is a former assistant at Marquette under Tom Crean. And Jim Harbaugh's father, Jack Harbaugh, was the head football coach at Western Kentucky, won a national championship there.
Their sister Joni, who's married to Tom. You can see the familial resemblance, can't you? Here's Brook Lopez. He hits both free throws. He has 16. 6 for 7 from the line. And here comes Stanford back within 2 with 5:10 remaining.
Marquette's had some success in moving Brook and Robin Lopez around, getting them involved in ball screens and driving it.
Fitzgerald, Hacker, McNeil. Screen by Barrow. Here comes Kenny Brown. Pulls up quickly.
Not a good shot. That was under pressure. There were no rebounders underneath. When you've got Brook and Robin Lopez, there's no reason to take a shot unless it's a layup when they're not underneath.
Holding foul away from the ball on Kenny Brown. Again, if you're just joining us, this battle between the Big East Marquette Golden Eagles and the Pac-10 number 3 seed Stanford Cardinals, 65-63, and that man is running the Stanford bench. It's backup coach, assistant coach Doug Oliver. Trent Johnson, the head coach, was ejected on 2 technical fouls with 3.5 minutes remaining in the first half. So Oliver in charge of the Stanford strategy here in this tight second half with 4.5 to go. Spinning move by McNeil as he moved around Kenny Brown to give Marquette a 4-point edge.
Marquette's offense is lifting up the big men, and that is allowing penetration and the great spin move by Jarrell McNeil. They are moving the Lopez twins around and making them play out on the perimeter.
Here's Robin fighting his way inside and drawing the foul.
And Robin, not a bad free throw shooter, about 67%. Just made a quick move on the undersized Dan Fitzgerald inside.
3rd foul on Fitzgerald.
Lopez really started out on fire, scored 10 points in the first 10 minutes of the game while his brother Brook had been struggling. Brook started out 1 of 7 from the field with a couple of fouls.
17th point of the game for Robin Lopez. He's the younger of the two twins by a couple of minutes. As Fred Washington, a local product from Los Angeles, Bishop Montgomery High, back into the game for Stanford. There's mom, Deborah Ledford, an outstanding swimmer, intermediate swimmer. In her day, won a silver medal in the World University Games.
And you could see her saying, take your time. They coach him even up in the stands.
And a whistle on the drive as Wesley Matthews made his move to the basket. Foul on Washington, his second.
They took the trees away from the basket, and Jarrell McNeil with a beautiful kiss off the glass.
Kelly, it's Daddy. Boop. Hey, Punkin, it's Dad's phone. He can't answer right now because he doesn't have AT&T, which means he gets 0 bars up here on this ridge. So, that text message about you spending the night at Steffi's, Johnny Knocker here won't get that. And come Monday, you're going to be the girl with a crazy father who no one wants to date.
For the best coverage, switch to AT&T. More bars in more places.
Kelly Moore!
And now get an exclusive smartphone for $99.99.
The new Absolute Protection line by Degree Men. Proven at the hottest temperature ever recorded on Earth. Future-ready protection. The new Absolute Protection line by Degree Men. Unbeaten in competitive dryness testing. Future-ready protection.
Love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. I love you, baby, and if it's quite...
This is odd. Hey, Bob, it's Greg. Either my feet are getting bigger or the competition's getting a little close. Let's discuss network security. Call me. Hope you're well.
Hey, Greg. I'm here with your network and security specialist.
Greg, there are security updates for all your offices and some new features you'll like.
Perfect. Thanks, you guys.
With experienced technology specialists certified in everything from storage to security, CDW is there.
So you understand your feet aren't growing.
That's pretty good.
Here's to the light beer that wins award after award, year after year. The original and still the greatest, Miller Lite.
Greg Gumbel in New York with an update for you. The Kansas Center of Villanova and Siena. Back to Anaheim.
Less than 4 minutes to go in Anaheim. Marquette by 3 over Stanford.
Stanford sticking with man-to-man. They played a lot of zone in the first half. 1-2-2, 2-3, but mostly man in the second half.
McNeil, and the ball deflected by Stanford out of bounds.
This man-to-man has allowed Marquette to run some ball screens, really move around the big guys for Stanford. Right now, Robin Lopez on the bench.
Stanford rallying in the second half from 6 points down at the intermission to take a 6-point lead. But Marquette caught them and took the lead at 58-57 at the 7-minute mark. They now lead by 3, 6 on the clock. McNeil answers.
I'm not sure this man-to-man defense is going to work against Marquette because they're able to move the bigs around and then they're getting to the cup too easily. Against the zone, they didn't have those same opportunities.
Mitch Johnson has done a terrific job playmaking and protecting the ball from a little out of his range. It's Brook Lopez banking it home, and he has 18 to lead Stanford.
Lopez is so good at facing up and using the glass. He keeps the ball high and shoots over the top.
And it was 13th assist for Mitch Johnson.
Against only 1 turnover. He's been so instrumental in this team keeping its poise after Trent Johnson was tossed out.
McNeil's miss and Washington rebound, and Stanford with a 3 can tie it with 2.5 to go.
They need to go back into Brook Lopez. And Dominic James needs to get more pressure on the ball. These passes are too easy inside, way too easy.
And that's going to be a foul on Marquette. And it's against Usman Barrow, his fourth.
You can see it's so hard. You can just left arm right around the back of Brook Lopez. That's going to be a foul every time. You just need to get an arm bar into the back of him.
Marquette leading Stanford 69-66 in the West. Winner goes on to Phoenix against either Miami or Texas. Brook Lopez and his brother Robin have been outstanding, and they've created some foul problems for Marquette. Both Lazar Hayward and Usman Barrow with 4 fouls now, and Fitzgerald with 3 leaves. Hayward returns as Lopez cuts the lead to 2 with 2:25 left. And here comes Robin back in.
In any half-court set, Stanford has got to get the ball inside, whether it's to Brook or to Robin Lopez. They have got to touch it. They have been dominant, and Doug Oliver might want to tell his team, hey, guys, your scholarships are on the line. Get the ball inside.
These two sophomores, 7-footers, and 8 for 9 now for Brook Lopez. And a 1-point game, and that's got the crowd, both the Marquette and the Stanford fans, rising as one. As we're down to the critical final minute, 2 minutes and 15 seconds. James gets it back.
A terrific reaction by Robin Lopez. Turned his back, but still got there.
He tried to shoot around the big Lopez arms. It's out of bounds to Stanford. Tom Crean doesn't like the call.
Just having Brook and Robin Lopez near the basket makes all the difference because they are changing shots.
James right in the front door twice, just couldn't get the right angle to bank it home.
Well, he's got to change that shot in midair just to get it over the Lopez twins. A little 2-3 zone for Marquette.
1:45 to go. 1-point game, and he overshoots the mark, does Mitch Johnson, but there may have been a push underneath.
There was. As that ball was in the air, there was a push in the back.
And if it's on Barrow, that's his 5th, and he is gone.
Boy, there wasn't much there. That was actually a little bit of an acting job by Brook Lopez, and a darn good one.
And the pass really was not the usual accurate toss by Mitch Johnson.
You can see him touch him just a little bit in the back.
Well, that's a pretty good ball.
And, well, I don't know. He's awfully big. Unless Usman Barrow has been benching 350 with that one arm.
Maybe he's taking the same cold medicine I am. I almost lifted the car this morning. Got so much stuff in me.
Well, you know what? That's why you don't put a hand in the back, because that's going to get called almost every time. And good post guys do put a little extra into it to try to get a call. That's called selling the call. And that's what the experienced players do.
And these are all 2-shot fouls as Dwight Burke comes in at 6'8", so he's undersized, trying to deal with these 2 7-footers. And at the line is Brook Lopez. He's 8 for 9 in the game, and a chance to take the lead if he converts both. Ties it with his 21st point of the game.
He got off to such a slow start. 1 for 7 start and sat out 12 minutes of that first half. But Brook Lopez came in very aggressive and very focused in the second half.
And he gives the Cardinal the lead, 70-69 with 1:44 to go. So much on the line for the seniors. On one side, it'll be the last game. McNeil, a junior, off to Matthews. James with a save with 1:30 to go. A ticket to Phoenix and the final 16 to the winner. James can't hit. Look at him get up. Can't follow. And it's out of bounds to Marquette. How high does that 5'11" Dominique James jump?
He's got an extra step on his ladder. The shot, and then quickly going after the rebound and continuing with second, third, and fourth effort.
And a new 35-second clock. 1:18 to go. Stanford 70, Marquette 69. McNeil gives Marquette the lead.
Marquette turns the corner so well. Just the explosiveness of Jarrell McNeil. 21 points. He has been absolutely on fire over his last 6 games.
That's his average in the last 6 games of the season, including this one. 21 a game. This is the bucket by McNeil that gives Marquette the 1-point lead.
This building will be attacked 3 million times today. Who is going to protect it? Meet Staff Sergeant Lee Jones, Air Force Cyber Command, a member of America's only cyber command, protecting us from millions of cyber threats every day. It takes Air Force technology to defend America in a changing world. U.S. Air Force, above all. Learn more about our changing world at airforce.com.
And congratulations to our Chevrolet players of the game. Jarrell McNeil with 21 and 6 boards. Brooke Lopez leading all scores with 22, 10 of 11 from the line. Our Chevrolet players of the game. We're down to the final 62 seconds here in Anaheim. 1-point lead to Marquette. Stanford with the ball.
Stanford needs to play off these two big guys.
Marquette does have the arrow. That's one advantage. Ooh, good catch by Lopez. And they call it a block in the corner as Woods went up for a three-pointer, and it's out of bounds to Marquette.
Great post defense by Dwight Burke. And then a terrific job by Marquette to get to the shooter. Jarrell McNeil, last year's Big East Defensive Player of the Year with the deflection, knocked out by Fred Washington.
Tom Crean sends in Dan Fitzgerald with Marquette on offense. He's hit 3 trays in the game.
11-second differential on the shot clock.
Marquette can afford to be patient with a 1-point lead. 20 on the shot clock.
I'll get into some sort of ball screen.
Shot clock in the corner of your screen. Down to 10 seconds. Inside to Hayward. Over Lopez, no. Stanford, here they come. 15 seconds to go. Washington to Johnson. Hit the underside of the board. Washington gets it back. Lopez is fouled. With 8.8 seconds left, Robin Lopez will go to the line.
Well, I'm not sure for Marquette that was the shot that they wanted. They got it in deep. And the Lopez is making it so difficult. An alert play by Fred Washington to look behind him in traffic instead of just going up with it, and found Robin Lopez, who was fouled. Now he'll go to the line, a 67% free throw shooter on the season.
But 3 for 7 in this game. 1 to tie, 2 for the lead. That wasn't close. And timeout called by Stanford. Oh my, 8.8 seconds to go. 71-70 Marquette. Marquette by 1. Robin Lopez will be at the line for 1 more free throw to tie it. You see the arrow favors Marquette. The pressure on this. The young sophomore from Fresno, California. Mother taking her notes. Deborah Ledford. And just as nervous as Tom Crean's wife, Joni.
This is where free throw blockouts become critical.
To tie. He hits it. 71 all with 8.8 seconds to go. Well, let's see the strategy now, and that's already been discussed and determined in the huddle for Marquette. They get it to Jarrell McNeil. McNeil fires and misses. And Lopez rebounds. Washington at the buzzer. We're going overtime in Anaheim. Oh, my. What a second half of action. Who will go to the Sweet 16? This half, Marquette made 2 of 3. Marquette made 2 of 3. Stanford 16 of 20. So the free throws got the Stanford Cardinal back into the game and a tie. But you have to go back to the first half when the double technical on Stanford. Coach Trent Johnson gave Marquette 4 straight free throws, made all 4, and you could figure and factor that one in as well. So perhaps things have evened out. Certainly we're on the scoreboard. Now 5 minutes to decide. Brooke Lopez gets that good pass inside where he's in a position to make the easy bank.
Well, Dwight Burke was playing him on the high side. I don't think you can do that. I think you got to get behind him, try to push him off the lane, and then let him make a catch.
Brooke Lopez with 22 points since halftime.
You play him on the high side, you give him an angle.
And McNeil unable to get the angle and then comes right back to make the steal.
That's why they call him McSteal. Now he might be McThree.
Oh, my, it's 74-73. Jarrell McNeil battling after the miss to keep the ball alive, and then the reward. He's in the corner for the three. 24 points, McNeil.
The best word you can use to describe it is alertness. Again, they're given that angle. You can't play Brook Lopez on the high side. You are giving him an angle to the basket. All you have to do is throw it up toward the corner of that backboard, and he's going to have an easy 2 points. You have to play behind him and push him off the lane.
Barrow, the starting center, at 6'10", fouled out in the final minutes of regulation, so Dwight Burke at only 6'8". Has to hawk one of the Lopez's, and drilling it from outside is Jarrell McNeil. He leads all scorers with 27.
Few players in the last 6 games have been better than Jarrell McNeil. He's been fantastic.
Junior out of Chicago, McNeil, terrific on defense, but answering offensively. Mitch Johnson down the bottom of the well, and Stanford back in front by 1.
Mitch Johnson has played a brilliant floor game.
9 points and 15 assists for Mitch Johnson with only 1 turnover.
Any coach will take that turnover ratio.
That's on Johnson for the block. And Dominic James will stroll to the line. First foul on Johnson. Doug Oliver, head coach at Idaho State for 8 years, came back to Stanford, was an assistant at Stanford in the Montgomery coaching era. And he has taken over since 3.5 minutes to go in the first half when Trent Johnson, double technical, was ejected from the game. First free throw of the game for Dominic James, who often visits the line. He has 9 points in the game and a point away from a double-double, has 10 assists. Wesley Matthews, a breather, and David Kubian, the Venezuelan, on the Venezuelan national team. And it will remain tied at 78 as James does not connect on the second.
Need to go into Brook Lopez. Let's see if Burke continues to play him on that high side. If he does, they've got to get the ball to him. Those are easy points. Now he's doing a better job. Now Burke has adjusted. That's the way to play the post defense against Lopez. Pushing him off the lane.
Look at that, body's leaning there. Here's Lopez. He fights his way in and scores again. 80-78 Stanford.
Just a superior move, but a lot more difficult to execute. Just that lob pass up to the rim and laying it in.
Only 2 points in the first half. Brook Lopez, 26 in the second half. Oh, Jarrell McNeil. Don't touch me. I'm on fire. 30 for him. 81-80 Marquette.
And those aren't easy shots either.
Down to the final 2 minutes of overtime. Lopez. That's a little out of his range, and McNeil up high for the rebound.
Well, what a great adjustment by Dwight Burke. That's great post defense, forcing a fadeaway jumper from 12 feet instead of a couple of layups he gave from playing on the high side.
McNeil wants it, and is short this time. Brook Lopez hauls in the rebound. Here come the Cardinal. 81-80. Marquette leads. We approach a minute and a half remaining in overtime.
I know McNeil was feeling it, but that was a challenge jump shot. He didn't need to take that. They could have run a little more clock. Make Stanford guard you. Move those big guys around. Now it's Hayward on Lopez.
Mitch Johnson outside. James hawking him. Good catch by Brook Lopez. Rattles out. Robin can't tip it in. And it's Hayward who gets the rebound for Marquette. Knocked away, but Dominic James pulls out the hand, palms down. Let's ease our way into the offensive end with less than a minute to go. Timeout Marquette. 58.4 seconds remaining in Anaheim. Marquette 81. Stanford 80. Final minute here in Anaheim with Marquette owning the ball and a 1-point lead. And how about Jarrell McNeil?
22 points per game over his last 5 coming into this one. And he has been catching and shooting with great confidence. A courageous driver, an outstanding defensive player. and very, very explosive, and his offensive game has been magnificent.
Well, Jerome McNeil, his reputation playing big in big games. When the lights are brighter, so is he. 30 points is his career high. He's saved it for this overtime game against Stanford. A 1-point lead.
Ball screen out top and a screen down.
McNeil can't hit the short jumper, gets it right back. Out hustling the Lopez twins, and they get a new 35. There's about a 9-second difference in the clocks.
Stanford, even though they're down 1, does not need to foul. They can play straight up, trying to get a stop and then an opportunity of their own.
Wesley Matthews on the outside. Fred Washington comes out with a soft defense, and time called by Tom Crane with 24.7 seconds to go. One-point lead Marquette, 24.7 seconds to go. 15 on the shot clock for Marquette. Remember, Stanford will get 2 shots on any foul. Marquette is in the 1-and-1. Here goes McNeil at work again. Misses that one. Rebound to Washington. Mitch Johnson with 11. And timeout called by Doug Oliver, the acting head coach for Stanford. And the Cardinal now have the advantage. The ball and 9.2 to go. .2 seconds left. 1-point lead. Stanford with the ball. You got the 2 Lopez twins in a stack down in the lane. Here's Mitch Johnson. 1-point lead Marquette. The throw is to Lopez. He shoots and scores. With 1.3 seconds to go. Timeout Marquette. Lopez and Lopez. What a game these twins have had. 28 in the second half for Brook Lopez, the all-conference Pac-10 center. .3 seconds to go. Here's the shot by Lopez to give Stanford the 1-point lead. All right, Jay, what do you do now?
Brook Lopez will be guarding the ball. Marquette's got to go long. Stanford needs to switch every screen.
Taken by Mitch Johnson. Stanford has defeated Marquette 82-81. And they advance to Houston and the South region. Their ticket to the Sweet 16. And boy, the Lopez twins, they paved the way. Talk about broad shoulders of these 7-footers. It was Robin Lopez to start the game and Brook Lopez to finish the job. 30 points for Brook, 18 for Robin. And a heartbreaking loss for the Marquette Golden Eagles. And Stanford moves through the number 3 seed and will play either Miami or Texas in the final 16 in Houston. They lived up to the publicity, didn't they? And Brook Lopez with the winner in the final seconds. So our final score, Stanford 82, Marquette 81 here in Anaheim as we go back to New York and Greg Gumbel.
All right, Dick, thank you. Stanford Cardinal survives the loss of their head coach in the first half. They win in overtime by 1. Let's take you to Omaha.